All right, there we go. So, let's insert some white space. Background noise. The Death Mage Who Doesn't Want a Fourth Time. Side Chapter 5. Vida. Actually, I guess since I'm here, I can cut this. Chapter 5. No. There we go. One, two. Oops, wrong button. Let me grab this real quick. And I guess I'll put it in here. All right, back to what I was doing. Vida, half asleep and half awake, could not tell whether she was looking at a dream on the back of her eyelids or whether her eyelids were open and she was hallucinating. Though gods were not omniscient and omnipotent, she was still... Is it omnipotent or omnipotent? It's omnipotent. Why did I say omnipotent? Or whether her eyelids were open and she was hallucinating. Though gods were not omniscient and omnipotent, omnipotent, omnipotent. Or whether her eyelids were open and she was hallucinating. Though gods were not omniscient and omnipotent. Why am I messing up that word, omnipotent? Or whether her eyelids were open and she was hallucinating. Though gods were not omniscient or omnipotent. Why can I not say this? Or whether her eyelids were open omnipotent. And she was hallucinating. Though gods were not omniscient and omnipotent, she was still a goddess. Wasn't any better. Or whether her eyelids were open and she was hallucinating. Though gods were not omniscient and omnipotent, she was still a goddess. But she was in this pitiful state because of her battle against Alda that had taken place 100,000 years ago. 100,000 years. Even before that. After being born in this world, Vida spread the power of life attribute throughout it, and before she knew it, she was praised by the people as the goddess of life and love. Everything was peaceful back then. Everything was gentle and quiet. However, that peace was broken by the invasion of the Demon King. Vida had no choice but to fight alongside the other gods against the Demon King's army, the invaders from a foreign world. During that time, Zuduwarn's suggestion, it was at Zuduwarn's suggestion. During that time, at Zuduwarn's suggestion, it was decided that champions would be summoned from another world. She agreed with the plan while Alda opposed it, but in the end things went well and 7 champions were to be summoned. Permission had to be granted from the god of that other world, but only Rodcart, the one who ruled the only circle of transmigration, continued to oppose it. But none bothered listening to a god who could do nothing other than complain. The one Vita had chosen was a young man who was trying to hang himself in a small backstreet workshop. Sakato Keisuke. He would later become Zakard. Let me just remove that. I don't actually need the embed. I know, sometimes I have trouble with simple words. Zakard's voice, huh? I always think he's kind of quiet and subdued. Yeah, well, I mean, that's gonna say kind of like Vandaloo, but Keisuke. He would later become Zakard. Ah, the goddess has come for me. Mother, father, I'm coming now. Oh, it's too low. They're too feminine. He would later become Zakard. Ah, the goddess has come for me. Mother, father, I'm coming now. Sakato whispered. Ah, the goddess has come for me. Mother, father, I'm coming now. I think that'll work. Probably. Zakot. Time selection. I'm saving this real quick. Zakot. Oopsie, that wasn't what I wanted to do. All right. Fair point. I figure it's worth saving just in case. But you're right. I don't think he talks almost ever. Like I saved Vandaloo's voice before he reincarnated, and he only talked twice. It's mainly if he talks again in this chapter. But now, Sakato whispered. Now I have to get Vita's voice, huh? Mother, father, I'm coming now. Sakato whispered. So, Vita. I think of... I can picture what I assume Vita looks like without even looking at, stuff. But what would she sound like? I kind of think of a lower pitch or mid pitch, kind of a huskier. Sakato whispered. Stop! No, too much. Stop! Don't go, please! Vita cried. Stop! Don't go, please! Sakato whispered. Stop! Don't go, please! Stop! Don't go, please! Stop! Don't go! So if I open up a little bit more. Stop! Don't go, please! It's a little too high still. Stop! Don't go, please! Stop! Don't go, please! I don't know. He talks to Vita quite a bit, though. Oh, she did appear in the manga. Manga. What am I, fucking white? Oops. I mean, I'll look it up. Oh, Jesus. Okay. I mean, it doesn't matter. I just want to make sure. Oh, okay. Yeah, she looks similar to what I was thinking. I was thinking almost like that. Of course, she didn't have a picture either. So I guess that's not a good example. Stop! Don't go, please! Staccato whispered. Stop! Don't go, please! Vita cried. It was in. I was in. Stop! Don't go, please! She sounds a little male, but I am a male, so I don't know. I'll put that as a preliminary. Of course, wait, she's supposed to be. Now that I think about it. 1 second, I've got to do something. Load add FX chains. This is actually how it's supposed to be, right? Coming now. Staccato whispered. Stop! Don't go, please! Vita cried. Because I gave the gods that kind of a little slight echo, reverb. Yeah. That was actually what I was doing. Stop! Don't go, please! Vita cried. I was in quite a panic back then. It seemed that an organization known as a bang had betrayed Staccato, and the workshop he had been running went out of business, so he was trying to kill himself. Vita thought that he would happily become a champion with no lingering desires in this world, but Staccato exhibited a fixation on mysterious things. And now I have to figure out what I... Ooh, wow, that is not what I want. Just a second, I'm on the wrong thing. Oh, and I didn't save that one, did I? I'm all sorts of messed up today. Time selection. Okay, we're correct. Let's do this. Okay, that should be good. Now I can figure out what Zachart's voice was. Did I call him Zachar? I spelled it wrong. Ah, the goddess has come for. Oh, okay, yeah, that's easy. Station on mysterious things. Does that mean that you're going to give me special powers or something? Damn it, I'm on the wrong track. Station on mysterious things. Does that mean that you're going to give me special powers and things like that then? He asked. All right, God voice. Powers and things like that then? He asked. Of course. Of course. Then he asked. Of course. Bestowing powers upon humans chosen to become champions was already an established procedure. In fact, if they were to be invited to another world without being given anything, they would simply die. Different worlds would have different laws of physics and even different compositions of air. There weren't such great differences between Lambda and Saccato's world, but if Staccato was simply taken to Lambda without any adjustments being made, it was possible that his lifespan would be shortened, or he would transform into a bizarre creature due to the mana floating about in the air. Vita would adjust his soul to prevent that, but these adjustments would become what were referred to as champion's powers. The blank space of the soul upon which adjustments could be made were called the qualities of a champion. Sorry, my nose still running a little bit from lunch. Oh, just a second. I got. Oh no! The adjustments could have been made more freely if Rodcart, an expert on this matter, had cooperated, however. Also, magic did not exist in this world called Earth that Zudu Warren had made a connection to. Oh, I put a weird pause there, apparently. An expert on this matter had cooperated, however. Also, magic did not exist in this world called Earth that Zudu Warren had made a connection to, so none of its inhabitants were able to use mana. In addition, only a minuscule number of individuals were capable of fighting with swords and spears. It was already known that there were none among Earth's inhabitants who had the individual fighting strength to stand up against the Demon King and his army. Earth's weapons could not be taken to Lambda. If they were, since the laws of physics were different in Lambda, it was certain that they would break after being fired once, misfired, or even explode. So it was decided that each champion would be granted powers. So that was why, even if Sakado never asked for it, Vita was planning to give him things like physical abilities that would allow him to treat. Oh. Like physical abilities that would allow. I'll just cut it back here. So that was why that each champion would be granted powers. That was why, even if Sakado never asked for it, Vita was planning to give him things like physical abilities that would allow him to treat protagonists of action films as small fry, an aptitude for magic and powerful equipment that only champions could use. In addition, the job and skill system created by Ricklint had already been implemented in Lambda. With enough experience, one could gain unimaginable powers. One sec. So the notification that my phone just sent me was someone's now live on your YouTube channel. Wow. Thank you for that. I would not have even guessed. Since I don't have anyone authorized but me to go live on my YouTube channel, why would you email me that? One more time for Zakart. The goddess of unimaginable power. Excuse me. Could gain unimaginable powers. Well then, please give me a cheat that lets me create things, said Sakado. One more time for Vita. Stop! Don't go! Let me create things, said Sakado. Huh? We're in the middle of a war. We're in the middle of a war. For some reason, Sakado showed a strong fixation on things related to creating. Wouldn't one normally desire the power to cut down enemies one after another with a sword, or the ability to freely cast powerful spells? In fact, those are the kinds of champions that we are looking for. Vita told Sakado this, but he stubbornly refused to yield on this matter. I'm weak when it comes to fighting, he said. Stop. That's why I'm telling you that I'll make you strong. That's why I'll make you strong. But I get the I'll make you strong. But I get the feeling that it'll be a waste. I'm not really athletic either. Vita sighed. The downside to doing an effect on the voice is I have to switch between two tracks, and it's frustrating. sighed. Even if you say that you want to create, I'm the goddess of the life attribute, so it'll have to be something like agriculture, animal breeding, forestry, or woodworking. Is that all right with you? Woodworking. Is that all right with you? She had no choice but to give in. There was not enough time for her to spend days convincing him, and she didn't have any other candidates. Please, give me those. I'm more knowledgeable about the manufacturing industry than I look. And so, though this wasn't originally planned, Sakato was summoned to Lambda as a champion who placed more importance on productivity and technology than individual fighting strength. Vita felt disappointed knowing that she was probably the one who... Only one. I was going to say, isn't that supposed to be only one? Technology than individual fighting strength. Vita felt disappointed knowing that she was probably the only one to summon such a strange champion. But contrary to her expectations, the champions chosen by Rickland, Paria, and Botan had also desired cheats for creating things. To think that 4 of the 7 had desired creation-related abilities. Perhaps the image of heroes on Earth was fundamentally different to what gods had imagined. It was very perplexing. Alda and Xantark had scolded them angrily for not making more serious choices, however. After that, it was fierce battle after fierce battle. More serious choices, however. After that, it was fierce battle after fierce battle. Numerous islands had been sunk, nations were destroyed, and Shizarion's soul had been broken. Even so, Vita, Sakato, and the other champions fought earnestly, defeating and sealing numerous evil gods and somehow keeping the war even. Sakato had reluctantly changed his name to Zakart in order to have a more typical Lambda-style name, under the recommendation of Suzuki Shohei, the leader of the champions. Zakart had distinguished himself in these battles. Okay, so that's Sakato again. Distinguished himself in these battles. If this world's gods and people are willing to betray us and join the Demon King, the reverse should also be possible. As he made this outrageous declaration, he began trying to recruit the evil gods obeying the Demon King. Bellwood. I want to say I actually had one line from Bellwood. I did. Let me check and see if anyone's commenting, because I only have one little tiny monitor. Okay, good. That's what I should do, is I should just shove another monitor back up into this corner. Then I can put, like, the script down here and Reaper up here. Oh, I need to get me another little tiny monitor. I wish this space was a little bigger if I wasn't in a closet. Alda-sama, I love this world. Alda-sama, I love this world. No, I love this world. Evil gods obeying the Demon King. Zakart, what are you thinking? Bellwood demanded. Their very existence is evil. There is no way that they can be converted. And have you forgotten what they have been doing to innocent people until now? Okay. Alda. Doing to innocent people until now. Precisely. Precisely, said Alda. I switch back and forth so much. Said Alda. Even if they were to join our side, it would only be a trap or a wretched way to beg for their lives. Accepting those who have sinned without delivering any punishment is an unthinkable, reckless act. Please come to your senses. No, that is way too. I always slip into the same female voice. It's always like the mind's voice. Listen, I just want to talk. Okay. Let me reset this. What is Vita's voice again?
Stop! Don't go!
Stop! 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 I know that all sounds the same, but it feels different. Stop! Don't. There we go.
It's an unthinkable, reckless act.
Please, come to your senses. Vita. Oh.
Please. Please, come to your senses.
Oh, God. I do that all the time. I get too far to one side. No, I don't want to delete the whole track. Oh, Lord, no.
Please, come to your senses.
Vita begged him. Not even Vita's words stopped Zakhart from trying to recruit the evil gods. In fact, the champions who had desired abilities of creation began to actively cooperate with him in his efforts. And unbelievably, more than 10 evil gods, though not in important positions within the Demon King's army, crossed over to the champions' side. That's not what I wanted. There we go. Hell yeah, I got emojis. How do I get rid of them now? There we go.
Over to the champion's side.
No way!
Over to the champion's side. No way!
Vita exclaimed in surprise. I mean, don't things like this often happen in wars? Said Zakhart, wearing a nonchalant expression. The evil gods who had changed sides were not particularly exceptional in direct fighting strength, but the fact that there were traitors seemed to have caused greater shock and disturbance in the Demon King's army than expected. The Demon King was a being who ruled not with charisma, but through overwhelming power and his secret ability that allowed him to
The Demon King's army than expected.
The Demon King was a being who ruled not through charisma, but through overwhelming power, and his secret ability that allowed him to destroy souls. There were some who worshipped his power, but many of his subordinates feared him, or were simply obeying him to serve their own purposes. The existence of the traitors caused doubt to spread throughout the Demon King's army, making them wonder, has the Demon King's power grown weaker? And have they betrayed the Demon King because they believed that the champions have something capable of defeating him? And the Demon King was successfully driven into paranoia that his other subordinates would betray him as well. The coordination of the Demon King's army that had been bound together like iron came apart. More traitors appeared, and the war that had been even up until now began leaning in the champions' favor. But the champions could not let down their guard. They needed to attack before the Demon King's army restored its iron-like bonds. Un momento. I really wish my phone would only alert me for like 3 things. Like, they can show me notifications, but don't, like, tell me I have a notification. I'll look.
Restored its iron-like bonds.
Under these circumstances, Zakhart declared that he would begin the manufacture of weapons from another world. I say it's probably Zakhart again. Checking over here. Nope. Oh, excuse me again.
Ah, the the god
Yeah.
of weapons from another world.
With our knowledge and skills alongside magic, we should be able to create modern weapons of Earth and Lambda. He advocated that these weapons should be used to defeat the Demon King. One of the reasons for this was because the Demon King possessed numerous troublesome abilities that made him difficult to defeat through normal methods. A barrier that nullified all magic, and a barrier that nullified all physical attacks. With these two barriers, he would be surrounded by an impregnable fortress. Because of this defense, even the holy sword of Belwood, who was the most gifted in combat, would not reach him. It would even stop the attacks of the gods. Zakhart had thought of a way to pierce through those barriers and inflict damage on the Demon King.
Pierce through those barriers and inflict damage on the Demon King.
Even if the Demon King came from another world, he has not known a world with technology-driven culture like Earth, said Zakhart. If we press him there, it might work. After investigating the barriers, he noticed that they were not like hard walls that repelled attacks, but had properties resembling membranes that absorbed energy.
There, it might work.
After investigating the barriers, he had noticed that they were not like hard walls that repelled attacks, but had properties resembling membranes that absorbed energy. He had also determined that the simultaneously present barriers, the anti-physical attack barrier and the anti-magical barrier, were independent and did not affect each other at all. In other words, if the physical attack barrier was broken by an extremely powerful attack, it could not absorb completely. The anti-magic barrier would continue functioning as normal. Only one of the barriers needed to be pierced to make an attack reach the Demon King. So, Belwood would use his ability to copy another champion's ability once a day to copy Belwood would use his ability to copy another champion's ability once a day to copy Zakhart's power of nullifying damage taken from a target weapon, targeting Earth's modern war weapons. Okay.
So, needed to be pierced to make an attack reach the Demon King.
So, Belwood would use his ability to copy another champion's ability once a day to copy Zakhart's power of nullifying damage taken from a target weapon, targeting Earth's modern weapons. After that, Belwood, now impervious to the damage of those weapons, would attack alongside the weapons being fired at the Demon King. The Demon King's anti-physical attack barrier would be pierced and he would be defeated. This was the plan that Zakhart drafted. However, Belwood was vehemently opposed to this plan. The weapons that Zakhart was trying to create had proved to be problematic on Earth, causing irreversible damage on the environment when they were used. Invisible poison would be scattered across vast areas and lingered for tens of thousands of years. They were terrifying weapons.
The goddess has...
Wait, I'm supposed to be doing Belwood.
Alda-sama, I love...
Alda-sama, I love this about...
thousands of years. They were terrifying weapons.
Zakhart, have you gone insane? You would only create a disaster in this beautiful world of Lambda, in the Demon King's place, Belwood exclaimed. I don't know, I should have scrolled earlier.
In the Demon King's place, Belwood exclaimed.
Disaster? At this rate, the king...
In the Demon King's place, Belwood exclaimed.
Disaster? At this rate, the Demon King will take everything, he said.
In the Demon King's place, Belwood exclaimed.
Disaster? At this rate, the Demon King will take everything, said Zakhard. And unlike Earth, this world has magic, and it isn't as if the entire world is going to be contaminated. It will only be the continent the Demon King is residing in, and there's not a single person left there anyway, is there? But there are people who were evacuated from that continent. Some of them are in the volunteer army that is fighting with us. Can you say the same to them when they are risking their lives to reclaim their homeland? Can you tell them that even if the Demon King is defeated, they will never have a homeland to return to? I do feel bad for them. I really do, but if we aren't prepared to make sacrifices, we can't win. And Suzuki, aren't you just unhappy with the fact that I want to make weapons from Earth? And so the four creation-minded champions, led by Zakhard, who were in agreement with the creation of the weapons, separated themselves from the three battle-minded champions, led by Bellwood. The two groups were prone to argue with one another over various things, and it was always Bellwood who would calm the unyielding, dissatisfied creation-minded champions down, telling them that victory could not be achieved without helping each other. But it seemed that they couldn't put up with it. Victory could not be achieved without helping each other. But it seemed that they couldn't put up with it any longer. Alda and Xantark. It seemed that Excuse me. It seemed that they couldn't put up with it any longer. Alda. It seemed that they couldn't put up with it any longer. Alda and Xantark agreed with the opinions of Bellwood's group, while Vita, Zudu-Warn, and Rickland agreed with those of Zakhard's group. Vita was confident that if she and the other gods did everything in their power, the pollution caused by the weapons could be erased in a few thousand years, or even a few centuries if things went well. And I get into a groove, and then sometimes I get kicked out of the groove, and it just takes me a while to get back in. Years, or even a few centuries if things went well. Years, or even a few centuries if things went well. And those evacuated from that continent deserved pity, And though those evacuated, I guess that's fine too, because it's just referencing those that were evacuated. Years, or even a few centuries if things went well. And though those evacuated from that continent deserved pity, the continent was already filled with seas and deserts of poison, and contaminated with forests. Even a few centuries if things went well. And though those evacuated from that continent deserved pity, the continent was already filled with seas and deserts of poison, and contaminated with forests of monster fungi. Vita believed that if they had to give up on the continent, that they had to give up on the continent. And contaminated with forests of monster fungi. Vita believed that they had to give up on the continent to some extent. However, Alda's side wondered, was it really possible to purify a poison that had never existed in this world before? What if that poison were to combine with the mana of this world and transform into a new disaster? They advocated that victory was possible without utilizing such a dangerous plan. The fact that the war had begun leaning in the champion's favor had created room for such arguments to arise. Meanwhile, Zakhard began creating Earth's modern weapons in order to change the minds of the battle-minded champions and the gods who supported their opinion. To be more precise, he began creating the poison that those weapons would scatter. He was trying to create a far smaller amount of diluted poison to examine. I'm just going to say here, I'm assuming that this is alluding, I don't remember now because it's been a while since I read this. I'm pretty sure it's alluding to nuclear weapons. You don't, in another world where the laws of physics are, you don't need some nuclear option. Nuclear just is all of power from nuclear just comes from a detonation from superheated particles. You could do that with anything. It's just in our world we don't have magic.
Those weapons would scatter.
He was
Those weapons would scatter.
He was trying to create a small. Did I? Okay.
Those weapons would scatter.
He was trying to create a far smaller amount of diluted poison to determine whether it would be possible to purify it with this world's magic and the power of the gods, and if so, how long it would take to do so. The other creation-minded champions cooperated in this task, while Vita and her champions continued to try and persuade Alda's side to accept this plan. At this time, the Demon King's army suddenly went on the offensive. The Demon King separated his army into two and began a large offensive movement, with no hesitation to make sacrifices. One of them was a large force that charged at the volunteer army's camp where Bellwood and his companions were, commanded directly by the Demon King himself. The other was a small army that closed in on the weapons manufacture workshop where Zakhart and his companions were, led by the Demon King's close aide. Yes, that's what I'm. So, like, yeah, anyway, I'm not going to get into it. I have a major in nuclear engineering.
The Demon King's close aide.
Bellwood and his camp.
The Demon King's close aide.
Bellwood and his camp. I shouldn't have stopped reading. I had it and then I lost it when I started talking.
The Demon King's close aide.
Bellwood and his companions alongside the volunteer.
Close aide.
Bellwood and his companions, alongside the volunteer army, accepted the challenge of defeating the Demon King that was approaching them. Vita tried to leave in order to help Zakhart and his companions, but Alda and the other gods stopped her. I guess it's Alda.
But Alda and the other gods stopped her.
Zakhart and the others are champions as well. They will be able to deal with a small army on their own. In fact, they should kill all of the enemies and come here to support us. And shouldn't we prioritize defeating the Demon King above all else?
Defeating the Demon King above all else.
At the time, I thought Alda's words were right. That's why. But Bellwood and his companions drove away the large army. However, the army had been composed of large numbers of sturdy small fry and monsters specialized in stamina and defense, designed to hinder the champions. The Demon King leading them was a fake. Zakhart and his companions had their souls broken by the Demon King, who had disguised himself as a low-rank monster, and the workshop was destroyed. I'm not going to do Demon King's voice because
monster, and the
I guess I'll do
was destroyed.
With this, the champions capable of defeating me have perished. The Demon King Guduranis was that. The Demon King Guduranis monster,
and the workshop was destroyed.
With this, the champions capable of defeating me have perished. The Demon King Gududanis was said to have said this. Said to have said this.
Of defeating me have perished.
The Demon King Gududanis was said to have made this loud declaration after breaking Zakart's soul. The Demon King had considered Zakart's group more powerful than Bellwood, and had feared them more, Bellwood's.
Declaration after breaking Zakart's soul.
The Demon King had considered Zakart's group more powerful than Bellwood's, and feared them more. He had been worried that the plan that they had made.
And feared them more.
He had been worried that the plan that they had made would one day threaten his life. That was why he had been fixated on defeating Zakart's group, despite having to make large sacrifices to do so. He had even destroyed their souls so that they could never be revived. Vita, Zuduwarn, and Rickland desperately tried to revive them. They planned to piece together the broken fragments of their souls in an attempt to resurrect them. But Rodcart had already retrieved the fragments of their souls by then. Oh god, this is Rodcart. I haven't done his voice since, the first chapter? No, he talked more frequently than that, or more recently than that.
Souls who have lost your lives once already.
I didn't give him the voice I would have normally. Normally I would have been like, reviving souls, just because I hate him, but you souls have been... Reviving souls is not part of my circle of trend. I always get a little bit of... I like Borkus's voice. I always get a little bit of Borkus in there. I'm like...
He retrieved the fragments of their souls by then.
Oh no. Why would you do this? Okay.
He retrieved the fragments of their souls by then.
Reviving souls is not a part of my circle of transmigration system without permission. Souls pieced together from fragments at that. There is no telling what kind of flaws doing such a thing would cause in the system. If possible, I wanted to return them to their original world, but I do not have the power to interfere with worlds outside of my jurisdiction. For this reason, I have restored 4 souls worth of fragments into a single soul and placed it in my system. This needed a considerable amount of effort, but not as much as fixing unexpected errors and bugs.
Unexpected errors and bugs.
The souls of Zakart and his companions had already gone to...
Unexpected errors and bugs.
The souls of Zakart and his companions had already gone to a place where Vita could not reach them. Bellwood, what an asshole.
Oh, the Sama. A place where Vita could not reach them.
What happened to them is a pity, but for their sake we will defeat the Demon King Gududanis with our own power and save the world, Bellwood declared, holding his holy sword high. After that, After that, events I don't even want to remember kept happening one after another, didn't they? In terms of results, Bellwood was victorious, Lambda was saved, but too many sacrifices had been made. Bellwood and the other 2 battle-minded champions survived. However, all of the 11 gods other than Alda and Vita had lost so much power that they had essentially died. Not a single member of the volunteer army led
that they had essentially died.
Not a single member of the volunteer army led by Bellwood had survived. There were numerous regions that remained contaminated, including the continent that the Demon King had made his domain. Many of them remained unpurified, even 100,000.
Including the continent that the Demon King had made his domain.
Many of them remained unpurified even 100,000 years later, spreading and becoming known as Devil's Nests. The surviving people, all of the humans, elves, and dwarves, numbered less than 3,000.
Dwarves numbered less than 3,000.
Our losses were great indeed, but we're still alive. We have to continue forward. Please, cooperate with us for the sake of the future, said Bellwood, extending his hand. But Vita rejected him. Time cannot be rewound, no matter how much I regret. What has been lost will never come back. To make up for our losses, I should have taken his hand. Alda was not wrong when he said that, but I could no longer trust them. Wasn't there supposed to be no sacrifices made? It was true that there was no guarantee that the Demon King would have been defeated if Zakart's plan had been put into practice, but shouldn't have
To be no sacrifices made.
It was true that there was no guarantee that the Demon King would have been defeated if Zakart's plan had been put into practice, but shouldn't Bellwood have listened to his opinions? Gunpowder and matchlock weapons, landmines and steam engines. Bellwood had opposed Zakart at every turn, stopping all of his ideas. It was true that what Zakart had in mind was dangerous and even would spell disaster for this world if misused. After hearing it, even Vita had countless discussions with him about it, thinking that it would be dangerous to put the plan into practice exactly as he had suggested it. But even so, she had discussed it with him. She had not denied him without hearing what he had to say. And no matter what she did, she could not let go of her doubts surrounding the events when the Demon King had closed in. Didn't Bellwood and Alda abandon Zakart and his companions on purpose? Wasn't it possible that they had intentionally allowed themselves to be deceived by the Demon King's trap? There was no evidence. If someone told her that she was delusional, that would be the end of the discussion. And even Vita thought that it would be ungrateful of her to accuse Bellwood of such a thing, when he had come to Lambda from a completely unrelated world, risked his life, and finally defeated the Demon King. However, she could not trust him. But she distrusted Rodcart even more. What was important to that god was the soul's being...
Trusted Rodcart even more.
Did I say distrusted?
But she distrusted.
Excellent.
Trusted Rodcart even more.
What was important to that god was the souls being reincarnated in the worlds he had jurisdiction over. He probably was not interested in anything else. Even with these events occurring, he probably thought nothing more than, "I'm glad the Demon King was defeated." If the Demon King had told Rodcart, "I will create as many humans as you want in place of the gods that were originally in this world, so please lend me your strength," then perhaps Rodcart would have accepted. Vita.
Then perhaps Rodcart would have accepted.
Vita couldn't help but think this. At the loss of Zakart and the other creation-minded voice cracked. Sorry. Let me check on my... Where is it? Oh, here it is. How long have I been going now? An hour. I've been going almost an hour. And I've got 24 minutes of red text. Good Lord, I'm going slow today.
would have accepted. Vita couldn't help but think this.
And the loss of Zakart and the other creation-minded champions was great, not... I guess that's fine. Not what I expected him to say.
Accepted. Vita couldn't help but think this.
And the loss of Zakart and the other creation-minded champions was great not only to Vita, but to Lambda as a whole. After they had fallen, Bellwood was forced to fight a harsh war that was once again tipped in the Demon King's favor. Gods, members of the volunteer army, and the refugees that had been protecting,
Was once again tipped in the Demon King's favor.
Gods, members of the volunteer army, and the refugees that they had been protecting were lost in rapid succession. And even now, Bellwood and the others were struggling to restore this ruined world. Because their powers were specialized for battle, though they were able to exterminate the monsters left behind by the Demon King, they were nothing more than amateurs when it came to agriculture and manufacturing. That was exactly why they needed Vita to cooperate with them, but instead of cooperating with them, I made a different decision. Vita thought of creating her own circle of transmigration system for this world, and creating new people who could survive even if this world was overrun by monsters. She planned to rebuild and restore this world, and reunite with Alda and the other gods. Alda and Bellwood opposed her as usual, but this was something that she had expected. They would have acknowledged me if my endeavors paid off. I thought that I had no other way to convince them, when words would not reach them. Oh, excuse me.
Other way to convince them, when words would not reach them.
That was why she didn't listen to the words of Alda and the others. If one asked her whether she wanted to get back at them, she wouldn't have denied it either. And then Vita gave birth to numerous new races. She poured vitality into Zakart's remains and successfully turned him into an undead. She had wanted to fully resurrect him, but her attempts failed thoroughly. It seems that without the soul at hand, or... Oh.
Direct him, but her attempts failed thoroughly.
It seemed that without the soul at hand, or someone who could control death itself, reversing life and death was impossible. That was why she was only able to create a puppet with fragments of Zakart's memories and knowledge that moved based on the few residual thoughts remaining in his body. But I don't think he would be angry. He was always saying that whatever can be used should be used, as if it was his favorite phrase. And so, with the help of the former evil gods, who had joined her as subordinate gods, she imitated the circle of reincarnation system left behind by the Demon King, creating her own original system. Though it did work, it was nothing more than an imitation of the Demon King's system, that was an imitation of Rodcart's system, so bugs would constantly appear. It was a dangerous product that she could not take her eyes off. Vita was forced to realize that no matter how unpleasant Rodcart was, he was a specialist when it came to this field. But I didn't want to give up. I wanted to... Oh, just a sec. I just got a huge text from an old person, just a second, asking for computer help. One sec. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Just getting some more water. Okay. Where was I?
But I didn't want to give up. I wanted to.
I wanted to. Okay.
Was a specialist when it came to this field.
But I didn't want to give up. I looked for more help. I created new races with those who cooperated with me, and loaded the souls of the new children into my system. Vita thought that the system needed experience to improve. Though it would cause them discomfort at first, it was necessary for the children she had created to turn the wheels of the system and be born anew. Fortunately, at this point in time, the incomplete system was working well, considering that it was incomplete. The number of children given birth to by Vita was steadily increasing as well. Maybe it's because I imitated the Demon King's system, but my children are stronger and live longer than I expected, and some of them undergo large changes in appearance when their rank increases. But I always intended to produce stronger children, so I thought that was fine, didn't I? Things were not fine. It was when Alda and the champions attacked her that she realized she should have sat at a table and discussed things with Alda and the others sooner. Bellwood and the other champions should have reached the ends of their lifespans long ago, but Alda had deemed them necessary for this world and preserved their youth.
For this world and preserved their youth.
Alda led the subordinate gods and followers who now supported him after their masters had perished or fallen into slumber, while Vita led the gods allied with her and the children she had given birth to. The two of them formed two separate groups that fought against each other. Vita was defeated. In the end, her fate was determined by the fact that her enemy had champions on his side while she did not, and the city for her children champions
on his side, while she did not.
and the city for her children that had been created using Zakart's knowledge was destroyed. Vita's divinity was stolen from her by Alda. Her authority as a goddess was revoked, and she suffered a deep wound. Even so, she mustered all of her remaining strength, creating a tall mountain range to the south of the Bongaia continent, and led her remaining children to
champions on his.
Stop it.
Even
Oh, God. My mother-in-law sent me a Snapchat. I don't ever use Snapchat. Happy Sunday. There you go. I'll send you an actual picture for once, instead of ignoring you. Oops.
and she suffered a deep wound.
Even so, she mustered all of her remaining strength, creating a tall mountain range to the south of the Bongaya continent, and led her remaining children to take shelter there. After that, she collapsed and fell into a slumber. I wonder how much time has passed since then. 10,000 years, 20,000 years, or perhaps even 100,000 years. She did not know. Her power had failed to return to the point that she couldn't tell. As Vida's equal, Alda should not have had the power to inflict an irreparable wound on her, but it seemed that he and his followers had brought her followers, the source of her power as a goddess, the ones who offered her prayers, to ruin by preventing them from growing in number. Currently, all of the gods who had cooperated with Vida had fallen into slumber after having their divinity taken away from them, or were worshipped just enough to lie dormant. Vida didn't know whether Talos and the others were unharmed or not. Vampires were strong among Vida's children. There was no small number of them who had fallen to the temptations of those who still tormented this world.
Of those who still tormented this world.
Why did things turn out this way? Why has Alda continued to do such harsh, cruel things? The Demon King no longer exists, and the gods who were part of his army betrayed him and became our allies. They were doing their best to make up for what they did. So why do you still hate them? The one who tore their chance to atone into pieces is you. The one who teaches that criminals should atone for their wrongdoings and that they are no longer criminals once they have finished atoning is you. Why do you hate the knowledge and technology from Earth so much? It's thanks to none other than the champions we summoned from that world, Earth, that we even still exist. Why do you criticize my efforts so much, Endeavors?
Earth, that we even still exist.
Why do you criticize my endeavors so much? The one who couldn't...
Earth, that we even still exist.
Why do you criticize my endeavors so much? The one who couldn't trust Rodcart, the one who doubted him, is you. Why do you destroy my children?
Trust Rodcart, the one who doubted him is you.
Why do you try to destroy my children? Why haven't you noticed that the truly evil gods have taken advantage of that and built a nest inside your pocket? At this rate, everyone will become exhausted and only destruction will await us, so why? I don't understand, I don't understand, I don't understand! At that moment, a certain premonition crossed Vida's mind. Perhaps it was caused by Zachart's remains that were resting next to her, or a little of her power had been restored. Ugh.
Perhaps a certain premonition crossed Vida's mind.
Perhaps it was caused by Zachart's remains that were resting next to her, or a little of her power had been restored. Or perhaps Ricklant and Zuduwarn were
A certain premonition crossed Vida's mind.
Perhaps it was caused by
That were
Just a second.
Perhaps it was caused by a certain premonition crossed Vita's mind.
Perhaps it was caused by Zakart's remains that were resting next to her. Or a little of her power had been restored. Or perhaps Rickland and Zuduwarn were lending her some of their power from wherever they were gathering it. She didn't know. But it was a premonition nonetheless. He will come back. I don't know why, but Zakart, Keisuke, will come back to this world. The soul that had been formed when Rodcart forcibly pieced together. I was right.
Keisuke will come back to this world.
The soul that had been formed when Rodcart forcibly pieced together the broken fragments of the four champions' souls, the one that had been released into his system, would return to Lambda. But in her premonition, Vita could see that he would be reincarnated into tragic circumstances, and that he would end his own life, tormented by his own powerlessness. All of this would be instigated by Rodcart. Let me find this.
Stop! Don't!
Stop! I can't let this happen. I can't let this happen. I can't let this... Fuck off, cat.
Instigated by Rodcart.
I can't let that happen.
Can't let that happen. Can't let that happen.
This wasn't something that she could overlook.
This wasn't something that she could overlook.
He currently didn't even have fragments of memories from the past. His personality was completely different as well. But Vita could not abandon him. Excuse me.
His personality was completely different as well.
But Vita could not abandon him. Now that she thought about it, she hadn't even been able to do anything for Keisuke and the others. She hadn't been able to repay them for anything. So, to make up for it, she would repay them just a little bit now. With this in mind, Vita sent several divine messages. She was worried that there wouldn't be anyone left to hear her voice, but it seemed that the divine messages had been delivered. And the moment her premonition became reality, Vita mustered all of her power. Her hands were so powerless that her heart felt as if it would break from how pathetic she was, but even so she extended it. She supported the soul that had fallen into this world with her hand and scooped it up. As she did so, she noticed that 3 troublesome curses had been placed on it. A long-ass chapter.
Curses had been placed on it.
Rodcart.
Rodcart.
Vita could not undo the curses, but before she could feel disappointed, she noticed something peculiar about the soul. She noticed that the soul was imbued with the mana of an attribute that did not exist in Lambda, and yet was somehow familiar, and that the soul had an unusually large amount of blank space. Okay, I can't help you right now, bro. I say that to my dad. Like, Sunday afternoon, dude, calm down. I'll help you with it tomorrow. What was I doing? Oh, right.
Stop! Don't go!
Damn it.
Large amount of blank space. Large amount of blank space.
I see. It was the 4 champions worth of... It has.
Large amount of blank space.
I see. It has 4 champions worth of blank space. And because Rodcart forcibly put the pieces back together, it created even more blank space. Even so, there is simply too much blank space. I have to fill it with power so that he isn't defeated by the curses. Huh?
By the curses. Huh?
To begin with, Vita tried to place the power of the life attribute that she had once ruled over into the soul. However, the peculiar mana that the soul had already...
Life attribute that she had once rolled over into the soul.
However, the peculiar mana that the soul had already been imbued with engulfed that power and absorbed it. Please go away.
With engulfed that power and absorbed it.
How strange. I wonder if it's because my power has waned. Well, then, my divine protection. This isn't working either. I think I made her voice a little higher in that one.
Divine protection? This isn't working either.
When she tried to bestow it her divine protection, that was quickly engulfed as well. She had been aware that divine protections were difficult to bestow.
Protection that was quickly engulfed as well.
She had been aware that divine protections were difficult to bestow upon those who did not believe in the god granting the divine protection, but the divine protection had been engulfed. Just what could this mean?
Just what could this mean?
Well then, what should I do? Oh. Oh god. Oh god. Woo. Who needs to do drugs when you're in your 30s and you sneeze? Just a second. I know I'm gonna need to blow my nose. From experience. Oh god, I think I got some of the juice from that Carolina Reaper on my nose. Apparently my fingers are still spicy. You do it again. Oh, Lord have mercy.
And what should I do?
There were few things Vita was capable of doing now. She had previously been able to grant special powers and cheat-like abilities, but she didn't have the power to do that now. If she pushed herself, she might be able to grant the soul a single power, but it would be terrible, see... Oh, God. Okay, I'm in the middle of something, dude.
But she didn't have the power to do that now. But
There we
she
go.
didn't have the power to do that now.
If she pushed herself, she might be able to grant the soul a single power, but it would be terrible to see it being engulfed as well.
To see it being engulfed as well.
All right, let's do this.
All right, let's do this.
Vita scooped up the tiny amount of residual thoughts that were left in Zakart's remains. In those residual thoughts, she wrapped some of her own blood that was running from her wound. And then she added these to the soul.
Blood that was running from her wound.
And then she added these to the soul. Perhaps they had once been a part of the same soul. This time they unified with the soul without any interference from the mana.
Any interference from the mana.
With this soul has received my blessing. Its unhappy destiny should become a little better. And though his growth may face walls, it won't face any limits. It will become easier for new jobs to appear, and it should affect those people around him too. Well, the bad luck in his future will get stronger, though. But this mana, I've felt it somewhere before. No, it can't be.
No, it can't be.
And then Vita released the soul into the system that she had created herself. With his soul's compatibility, he would be born as either a vampire or a dhampir. And since most vampires didn't make children normally now, it was likely that he would be born as a dhampir. He might be born into even harsher and crueler circumstances than if Vita had not interfered at all.
Had not interfered at all.
Now, I just need everyone to hear my divine messages and make their move. I'm sorry that this is all I can do for you.
Sorry, this is all I can do for you.
You risked your lives to save a world you had no connection to, and even had your souls broken. I'm sorry that this is all I can do. If possible, I want you to love this world. The air, the wind, the earth, the greenery, the animals, the people. I want you to love everything. I'm sorry that I'm burdening you with more expectations after I've relied on you so much already. And then Vita's consciousness sank into slumber once more. Moment of silence. This was the longest chapter. 1, 2, 3. Ah, wow, there was a lot of mistakes that I made. We're going to go back to entire project, wave, and side chapter 5. Actually, why am I doing that? I'm going to do proj. I already named it. All right. I think I will end my live stream there since I have a total of one concurrent viewer and maybe figure out what's going on with my stepdad's computer because he's freaking out. So thank you for dropping by. I'll read some more today if I have a chance, or maybe I'll just read something for pleasure for a little bit. But I'll post this up in a little bit.